Hello. One of the questions I'm often asked by students is how do I manage my time in the lead up to the exams? And I think I'm often asked this because it can seem overwhelming when there are so many subjects, so many facts, so many exam syllabuses to think about, mark schemes, and students just become overwhelmed and they need to see a way through managing their time. So this is about how to manage your time in the lead up to your exam success. I would like to ask you these questions first of all. How are you using your time? Just think about that. How do you use your time? Do you use your time in the most productive way? What does productive even mean? And how do you manage your time so that you don't feel overwhelmed? So let's see first of all what time you actually have available. Now, you all have different commitments. You have clubs, after school clubs. Some people look after younger brothers and sisters, or perhaps you're a carer. So what we're going to do is to go with the average student, and if you have commitments, you can see where you best fit into these time scales. So the first thing is, the most basic fact when considering your time is to acknowledge that there are 24 hours in a day for all of us. So what we do with that time is where the differences begin to emerge. So that can mean the difference between being really, really successful or perhaps not working to the best of your ability and time wasting really, which isn't productive at all. So let's think about this. At your age, your body needs 8 or 9 hours sleep a night. 9 hours is the actual amount of time that you should have. You might be at school for 6 hours. You might have an after school club for perhaps 1 hour. You might want to add 3 hours, sort of getting up in the morning, preparing for school, traveling to school, traveling back from school. So if you add all of that up, and this is an approximation, but if you add all of that up, what do you arrive at? 5 hours, and that's just on a weekday. So you need to use this time productively. But what does that mean? It means fitting this time around how you work to your optimum. That means how you work to your best. Now, if you work for long 1 hour stretches best, then do that. Most people can only maintain concentration for about 20 minutes and then they need to get up and wander around for a bit. But we're all different. If you work better with music on in the background, do that. I personally don't like that. I find it a distraction. But as I said, everyone's different. If you work better after a post-school 10-minute power nap, for example, do that. If that invigorates you enough to go and do some revision, do it. If you prefer to have some exercise before you start your revision, do that. But any approach that you take which is best for you will help you with your organisation and with your time blocking, which we'll come to in a minute. Now, this is what I call a revision tracker, and I think this is a great way to really, really organise your revision. My suggestion is that you create one of these diagrams before you start your revision, maybe even at the beginning of each week, but definitely after you've completed each revision session. So on the left hand side you can see hot revisions. That's the revision that's absolutely top priority. You must get some of that done tonight. The cool revision is the one where maybe the exam's quite a way off yet, but you still want to do some of that revision. You want to feed bits into it, but it's not as urgent at the moment. Questions on the right hand side, of course, when you're revising, there are bound to be questions that come up, questions that you haven't thought of before, questions that you just need clarifying in case that exam question comes up. So you need to write down those questions that come to mind. So this sheet really should be next to you when you're working. Write down the questions and perhaps write down who is the best person to ask about these questions. And also, I think it's really, really important as you go through this revision to write down your achievements. So after each session, write down what you've achieved. Have you achieved what you've set out to do? Have you achieved something small but crucial? That makes you feel much better. And if you keep these sheets together in a folder, you'll see how your achievements are building up. And by the time it gets to your exam, you'll feel absolutely fantastic that you've achieved everything that you set out to achieve. Now, so this sheet you need to use, but this is also very important. This one is your time blocker. So you can see I've blocked it off from 5 p.m. for half-hour sessions. So 5 to 5:30, 5:30 to 6, 6 to 6:30, and so on, right up till 10 o'clock at night, which I think is the time that you should be stopping, winding down, not going on social media, but just winding down. Just read something, relax, just something that is going to help you to have a good night's sleep. And it's divided up into weekdays. I'll come to weekends in a moment, but these are weekdays. And if you notice, I've applied a break midweek. You can do that, or you could have, say, 5 to 8 one night as a break, or 5 to 7 one night, or you can have a complete night off. Again, it's up to you. Breaks are important. They're really important for you to function in the best way possible. Breaks are productive because if you don't have breaks, you can't work to the best of your ability. So breaks are really, really important. Now, on weekends, you'll probably have about twice the amount of time that we've suggested for weekdays. So when you time block your time for weekends, you need to use exactly the same approach. So you need to deduct any time you have to commit to other things, clubs, etc., or time out with friends. That's really important. Have a laugh, have some fun, and then divide up the time you have left over a Saturday and a Sunday and decide what you're going to do, when you're going to do it. Right, one more thing. Make sure you prepare your work area and your files and your folders before you start any work. This prepares your mind for clarity and productivity when you work. If your desk is messy, if your folders are messy, your mind will be messy and your thoughts will be scattered all over the place. So make sure you know the direction that you're going in and clear any clutter out of the way, and that'll help you go in the direction that you need to go. So just to recap, this is what you should do to use your time in the most productive way. Calculate how much time you have, or use the average calculation that we used before. Make sure you get enough sleep. You can't do much without enough sleep. You really can't. You're tired in school, you're yawning, you don't have enough oxygen. You just can't work to the best of your ability. It's really, really important. Work in the way that suits you best for optimum productivity and effect. Complete a revision tracker diagram before and after revision sessions. Then carefully time block the time that you have available and build in breaks. Think about your weekend time as well. And of course, declutter your work area. If you do this, if you take this approach, this is going to keep you in the zone and out of being overwhelmed by it all. If you're overwhelmed, you panic. You start thinking about the massive amount of work you have to do. Doing it the way I've suggested on these slides chunks it. It takes it into small pieces and it recognizes how you work in the best way, and it also recognizes the fact that you needn't be in overwhelm, you needn't panic about things. You can take it in small steps and you can recognize those achievements. So, good luck.